Looking at the man, Wang Lin smiled. In that moment, it felt as though the stranger had vanished, replaced by a sense of pity for him. "Here," Wang Lin said, taking some dry rations from the bamboo backpack and handing them to the middle-aged man. The man's eyes went wide. He swallowed hard, then rushed over and grabbed the rations, devouring them in 2 quick bites. "Delicious, so delicious. I haven't eaten in days." "Huh," I said. Why did I say I?" The man paused, shaking his head, as if he couldn't be bothered to dwell on it, his gaze fixed on Wang Lin. "What's your name? How did you end up here? Where are your family?" Wang Lin asked softly, pulling out more rations and offering them to the man. The man gave Wang Lin an indescribable feeling, one that grew stronger with each moment of contact. It was as though they had met before, though he couldn't remember where, and there was a sense of guilt deep in his heart that he couldn't shake. He took the dry rations from Wang Lin and was about to bring them to his mouth when, upon hearing Wang Lin's question, he froze. He looked at the rations in his hands and then began crying once more. "I don't know my name. When I woke up, I was in a deep mountain. I can't remember. I remember gold light. When I woke up, there was gold light all around, and many people were after me. Humph, but they couldn't find me." His voice grew faint as he continued crying. Wang Lin's eyes softened. He watched the man quickly finish the little food he had, then shook his head with a soft chuckle. He took out a water flask from the bamboo backpack and handed it to the man. The middle-aged man gulped down several large mouthfuls, then let out a satisfied burp, smiling broadly at Wang Lin. He then offered Wang Lin the chicken leg he had been holding. "Here, you take it. The chicken leg's not good anymore." Wang Lin laughed heartily, taking the chicken leg. Instead of eating it, he carefully wrapped it up and placed it inside the bamboo bookcase. The rain outside the temple had grown heavier, with thunder and lightning clashing, causing the temple door to sway violently. Sometimes it even struck the walls, accompanied by loud banging sounds. The whole world was plunged into darkness, with only the faint light from the fire inside the temple offering a weak glow in the gloomy world. Wang Lin and the middle-aged man sat by the fire, their wet clothes slowly warming up. "Maybe it's better not to know who you are," Wang Lin murmured, gazing into the fire. "Sometimes, even when you do know, you wonder if you're just someone else's dream. I've been dreaming a lot recently, and the world in my dreams feels so real, it's hard to tell apart." The man took a sip of water, shaking his head as he muttered. "Who said that? Try not knowing who you are and see how painful it is." "Humph, if you ask me, it doesn't matter if it's a dream. As long as you're happy, as long as it feels good, who cares if it's real or not?" Wang Lin's gaze deepened. The man's words had struck a chord with him. "As long as you're happy, as long as it feels good. My goal is to pass the imperial examination, serve the government, and give my parents a better life, so they won't have to endure the judgment of relatives anymore." Wang Lin fell silent for a long while before finally nodding. "And you? What's your dream?" Wang Lin asked, adding some dry twigs to the fire. The man yawned, seemingly tired, but upon hearing Wang Lin's question, he perked up, a proud smile appearing on his face. He spoke excitedly. "My dream? Oh, I have many dreams. I want lots and lots of spirit stones, lots and lots of silver tails, and lots of delicious food." He paused, swallowing his saliva as he spoke. "Spirit stones? What are those?" Wang Lin asked, momentarily confused. "Spirit stones? Huh, did I mention spirit stones? What are those?" The man scratched his head, just as confused as Wang Lin. Wang Lin fell silent for a moment, then chuckled, not pressing the issue. He simply continued talking with the man, in the temple, on that rainy night. They seemed to have endless topics to discuss. Though the man had originally been tired, the more they talked, the more energized he became. He couldn't even explain why, but being around Wang Lin made him feel warm inside. Wang Lin's presence felt like that of family. The wind howled outside, the mournful sound at times blowing into the temple, causing the fire to sway violently, sending cold, damp air into the room. Yet, it no longer felt cold to either of them. Even the massive earth deity statue behind them, its mysterious smile, seemed to soften, gradually enveloping the entire temple in warmth, dispelling the chill. The night deepened, and the rain outside grew even fiercer. The fire before Wang Lin, lacking fresh twigs, slowly weakened, as if it might extinguish at any moment. "I'll tell you a secret," the man said, lowering his voice mysteriously beside Wang Lin. "I've never told anyone this secret." Wang Lin looked at him, smiling and nodding, his eyes showing interest. The man, grinning with pride, stretched out his right hand and placed it in front of Wang Lin. Look here, what do you see?" The middle-aged man pointed at his right wrist, his expression filled with more pride. But his right wrist, apart from being dirty, had nothing on it. Wang Lin looked at it for a long time, and then gave a bitter smile and shook his head. "Huh? You can't see anything? That's impossible. Wait, let me wash it off." The middle-aged man quickly got up and ran to the nearby temple's water source, cleaned his right arm, and then returned to Wang Lin's side. He raised his arm again and whispered mysteriously, "Now, you can see it, right?" Wang Lin's expression was strange, and he shook his head again. He truly didn't see anything. The middle-aged man grew angry, shouting loudly at Wang Lin. "Take a good look. Open your eyes wide and look. How could you not see it? You're lying. You clearly saw it." Wang Lin rubbed his forehead and looked closely at the middle-aged man's right hand in front of his eyes. After a while, he sighed and nodded with a bitter smile. "I saw it, indeed. Hee, how about that? I'm amazing, right? I have to find this person. I think he should know me." The middle-aged man sat contentedly to the side, gazing at his right arm, slowly drifting into a daze. "I have to find him. I have this feeling, like he once promised to take care of me, promised to take me to play, but then he left. No one is looking after me now. I'm all alone. I have to find him. I must find him." He mumbled to himself, his expression turning dim, curling up and staring at his right arm, his voice growing softer and weaker until he finally fell asleep. Wang Lin sighed lightly, got up, and took out a thick garment. He didn't mind the man's filthy appearance and gently covered him with it. Perhaps the act of covering him disturbed the middle-aged man, as he raised his right hand and turned, curling up to sleep, his right hand resting at his side, facing Wang Lin. Wang Lin sat beside the fire, watching the flames gradually weaken and slowly extinguish, as the silence of the temple and the sound of pouring rain outside settled around him. His heart slowly began to find clarity. A dream is just a dream. It can't change anything. Even if this life truly is just a dream, then in this dream, he wants to be happy. He wants to walk on with determination. Let this dream be another life of mine, Wang Lin's life. That life might be spectacular, it might be magnificent, but the loneliness and sadness brought by that dream, it's something that strikes fear into the heart, something that hurts. Wang Lin seemed to understand something. At that moment, the fire dimmed, completely extinguishing, a wisp of blue smoke rising. Darkness once again enveloped the temple. Wang Lin leaned against a pillar inside the temple, the snores of the middle-aged man filling the air, and drowsiness overtook him. Just as he was about to close his eyes to sleep, he suddenly opened them wide, turning to look at the middle-aged man. On the man's right arm, in the deep darkness of the temple, a faint golden light was flickering. That golden light emanated from the man's arm, and there, clearly visible, was a blurred handprint. It seemed as though an invisible hand had once grasped that madman's wrist, leaving behind this mark. Looking at that handprint, a familiar feeling surged up in Wang Lin's heart. He froze for a long time, lowering his head to look at his own hand, but the handprint was too blurry, and he couldn't recognize it by its fingerprint. Wang Lin stared blankly for a moment before shaking his head. The rain continued all night, only gradually stopping as the first light of dawn broke. The fragrance of the earth after the rain filled the air, drifting into the temple. A night without dreams. Wang Lin opened his eyes, stretched his body, looked at the dawn sky outside the temple, stood up, and moved his stiff body a little. When he turned around, he saw that the middle-aged man was still fast asleep, his right arm restored to its original state, with no trace of the golden handprint from the previous night. He hid his doubts deep in his heart, tidied up his belongings, changed into a clean set of clothes, and approached the middle-aged man. He pushed him a few times, and, seeing him slowly open his bleary eyes, Wang Lin smiled and clasped his hands in a salute. "One night of meeting, it's fate. I'm Wang Lin, and I have to go to the county city for the imperial examination. If there's ever a chance," Wang Lin began to speak, but gradually paused. The madman lowered his head, his expression full of desolation and loneliness. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin left a day's worth of dry rations and placed the rest in front of the man. He spoke softly, "I'm leaving. You will definitely find that person. You will." For some reason, a feeling of reluctance rose in Wang Lin's heart. He gave the man one last look, sighed inwardly, and turned to walk out of the temple. But before he could step out the door, he heard the man's crying voice from behind. "No one cares about me anymore. He left, and now you're leaving too. No one cares about me." Wang Lin paused in his steps, gazing at the sky outside after the rain. After a long while, he turned around and looked at the crying middle-aged man in the temple. He spoke softly. I'm in need of a study companion. You may be a bit older, but it shouldn't be a problem." At this moment, Wang Lin did not know that his words would lead to a cycle of reincarnation. Back then, he had seen a madman who vaguely resembled someone, a person he saw in the land of falling stars, during the Vermilion Bird trial in the human realm of Sioux City, another version of himself, accompanied by a study companion who acted like a steward. That person, holding osmanthus wine from Sioux City, kept lamenting the cost of the drink. Sioux City got its name from one person, Su Dao, a great scholar from the Zhao Kingdom. His presence had made Sioux City the capital of literature in the Zhao Kingdom in recent years. In the Sioux City examination, the one who excelled would be called Suju. Within the specified time, all Suju candidates were required to travel to the Zhao Kingdom's capital, where they would either soar to great heights or leave in disappointment. Carrying the expectations of his parents and dreams for the future, Wang Lin walked along the official road. Behind him, a middle-aged man who had changed into fresh clothes. This man carried a bamboo backpack filled with books and hummed a tune, seemingly carefree. The sky was gray, yet no rain had fallen. The water accumulated on the official road was cold, mixing with the mud to form a thick, sludgy mess. The journey to the county town, which should have taken half the day, didn't come to an end until dusk. Only then did Wang Lin and the man faintly see the city in the distance, bathed in the glow of the setting sun. As the sun set in the west, waves of orange light pierced through the clouds, casting a glow over the city. From a distance, it gave the impression of a sunset at the end of an ancient path. "We've finally arrived." Wang Lin exhaled deeply and wiped the sweat from his forehead. The journey had been full of events, and sometimes, when he thought back, he found it all quite strange. Defu, the county town, is ahead. We'll be staying there for a while. Wang Lin smiled and glanced back at his study companion. "I don't like this name." The middle-aged man frowned and shook his head. "I think it's a good name." Wang Lin laughed heartily. He then walked up to the city gates with Defu. After showing the travel pass from their village, they were allowed entry after a quick inspection by the city guards. Though it was a post-rain evening, the county town was still bustling. The streets were filled with people, most of them scholars like Wang Lin, who had come from various places. Wang Lin had arrived a little late, and together with Defu, they checked 4 or 5 inns, but none had available rooms. As the sky grew darker, Wang Lin began to grow anxious. Fortunately, in the last inn they checked, there was a room available. Though the price was high, with a loud crash of thunder, the rain that had paused for the day seemed ready to return. Wang Lin gritted his teeth and told Defu to take out the silver. Defu carefully took out the silver he had been carrying for Wang Lin, and with a sigh of reluctance, handed over a portion while murmuring, "There's not much silver left, it hurts. I feel like I've been through something before and know how precious silver is." At his muttering, the innkeeper gave Wang Lin and Defu a disdainful glance, then lazily led them to their room. Over the past days, the innkeeper had seen many scholars like Wang Lin, some of whom were generous, while others, like Wang Lin, seemed poor and pitiful in his eyes. Wang Lin, simple in nature, noticed the innkeeper's expression but paid it no mind. The room was small but suitable for 2 people. However, a musty odor greeted them when the door was opened, causing Wang Lin to frown. This smell was inevitable in this season, unless it was one of the best rooms, but otherwise, most rooms smelled like this. After a simple meal, Wang Lin lay down on the bed fully clothed, staring at the oil lamp on the table. Soon, the sound of Defu's snoring filled the air. The bedding was damp, making it uncomfortable to lie on. After tossing and turning for a while, Wang Lin couldn't fall asleep. With a sigh, he sat up, looking at the flickering light, and took a book from the bamboo backpack. Suddenly, there was a crash of thunder outside the window, followed by flashes of lightning zigzagging through the sky. The thunder roared, shaking the heavens and earth. This thunderous storm did not fade quickly, but persisted, covering the county town with a booming sound that woke many people from their slumber. The wind howled like the sky above the county town had been torn apart. The fierce wind swept across the earth, blowing mud and sand, while the heavy rain that had begun to fall hit the buildings with a steady drumming sound. The sound of rain hitting the window of Wang Lin's room was deafening, as though it would break through the glass. Wang Lin, unable to concentrate on his reading, frowned and looked up. At that moment, the window suddenly swung open with a great force. The two window panels rattled against the frame as a gust of wind, carrying raindrops, rushed in through the window. The candlelight on the table was immediately extinguished, plunging the room into darkness. The wind ruffled Wang Lin's hair, and his clothes were violently buffeted. Raindrops from the storm splashed into the room, and even the book in Wang Lin's hands was almost blown away. Wang Lin exclaimed in surprise and quickly stood up, stepping toward the window against the wind. He was about to close it when a thunderclap struck with a deafening roar, as if the window itself had exploded. The intense sound seemed to ripple like sound waves, causing Wang Lin's mind to tremble. At that moment, a flash of lightning streaked across the sky in front of him. A blinding light filled the heavens, completely enveloping the county town, which had been sleeping through the storm, in the glow of the lightning. In that instant, under the light of the lightning, Wang Lin saw part of the town in the dark distance. He froze for a moment. Once again, he saw the white soaring bird that he had seen in his dreams and on the road. It circled in the sky, illuminated by the lightning, spinning amidst the storm. As if sensing Wang Lin's gaze, the bird glanced down at him. In that instant, a silent connection formed between them, a shared gaze. Thunder crashed even more fiercely, and the lightning flickered relentlessly. In the alternating flashes and darkness, a booming sound resounded in Wang Lin's mind. He stood there, lost in thought, as an indescribable feeling grew within him, eventually transforming into a vague voice. The voice echoed with confusion, with a sense of the ancient, resonating in Wang Lin's mind. Causality, what is causality? Causality, what is it? The wind blew through the window, sweeping across Wang Lin's body. He stood by the window, letting the wind pass, the rain fall, the thunder roar, and the lightning scream. In his eyes, the world seemed to disappear, leaving only the white, soaring bird in the sky. The bird flapped its wings, and under the thunder and lightning, it transformed into a white streak of light, speeding toward Wang Lin. In an instant, it landed on the window in front of him. It stood there, its wings folded, silently gazing at him. Wang Lin stared at it for a long time. "Is it you, speaking to me?" Wang Lin murmured. "What is causality?" A look of confusion appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. The bird gazed deeply at him, then flew up and circled outside the window. With a shrill cry, it soared into the dark clouds, disappearing from view. Though it had gone, the thunder in the sky continued to roar. The increasingly intense sound seemed to disturb Wang Lin's thoughts. He instinctively frowned and raised his right hand, pointing outside the window. At that moment, a lightning mark flashed through his right eye. As the mark appeared, the thunder in the sky suddenly stopped, as if a force greater than the thunder itself had commanded it to retreat. This force seemed like the king of all thunder, capable of ordering endless lightning to retreat. The lightning instantly extinguished, vanishing without a trace. Even the wind collapsed under this force, retreating and swirling upwards toward the heavens. The torrential rain also seemed to retreat in an instant, as though the rain had a spirit, one that was now shocked and afraid. In the blink of an eye, the rain ceased entirely. Not only did the rain over the county town stop, but under the will of this thunderous king's command, the entire Zhao kingdom's persistent rain ceased in an instant. Thunder cracked, lightning shattered, dark clouds dispersed, and the storm reversed. In Zhao kingdom, the Han Yue sect cultivators flying through the rain, such as Wang Zhua, Su Fei, and Zhou Rue, all felt a shock in their minds. Their faces were filled with horror. An elder among them suddenly turned, his eyes wide with disbelief. This aura. My God, what level of cultivation is this? Elsewhere in Zhao Kingdom, in the direction of the collapsing dark clouds, two long rainbows vanished rapidly, revealing a man and a woman. The woman was Lu Mei, her face pale, looking back with confusion in her eyes. The man beside her had a dramatically changed expression, nearly gasping in shock. In Teng Family City, within Zhao Kingdom, Teng Huayuan, the ancestor of the Teng family and a powerful nascent soul elder, was meditating. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, filled with terror as a feeling that sent chills through his heart spread within him. At the top of Mount Hengyue, an elder in a yellow robe gazed at the sky, his brows furrowing as he calculated with his right hand. He was Huang Longzhenren. However, his expression was grim. As he calculated, his hand trembled violently, blood seeping from his fingernails. A strange expression appeared in his eyes, as if he could hardly believe what he was seeing. How is this possible? At this very moment, far away on Vermilion Bird Star, in the Vermilion Bird Nation, there was a powerful sect. This sect alone was enough to sweep through a fifth-tier cultivation nation. Its mountain gate was shrouded in lingering souls, howling like the wails of ghosts and gods, stirring the heavens and earth. From a distance, it looked like a giant banner fluttering in the wind. In the endless sky filled with these dark souls, a man sat cross-legged. He was a middle-aged man, and he was Dun Tian's senior brother. I can't figure it out. In my entire life, I've calculated 37 times, and each time I failed. Could it be that my soul-refining sect really has no hope? His eyes narrowed, and he immediately made a series of hand seals, crazily calculating again. This. The man's expression changed rapidly. In this brief moment, he had consumed a large portion of his lifespan and vitality, calculating 9 times in a row. Yet, the result each time was the same. It was a conclusion that made him feel incredulous, even somewhat absurd. In the silence, his body swayed and disappeared without a trace. Using a teleportation technique, he headed straight for Zhao Kingdom. In a county town of Zhao Kingdom, the world was peaceful. Only on the second floor of an inn in the county, Wang Lin stood by the window, his faint mutterings echoing in the air. Karma. What is karma? The night passed slowly. Wang Lin didn't know when he had returned to his desk, staring at the extinguished candle stand, lost in thought. The voice that had lingered in his mind earlier kept echoing, gradually replacing everything. He had forgotten to close the window. At this moment, the wind and rain were gone. As the sky brightened and the first rays of the sun rose, the land was enveloped in light. The people who woke early were delighted to find that the dark clouds that had covered the sky for more than half a month had completely vanished this morning. The bright sky was clear and cloudless. The sunlight gently fell on the body, reviving it with a fresh energy, as if the body that had almost begun to rust was suddenly rejuvenated. It seemed that this year's summer had arrived a little earlier, and the rainy season had passed more quickly. DeFu also woke up, rubbing his eyes. Seeing the sky outside the window, he immediately beamed with joy and pointed outside, shouting to Wang Lin. I had a dream last night. I dreamt that I pointed, and the thunder dissipated. Haha, I'm amazing, right? I must be someone extraordinary. Alas, what a pity, what a pity. Wang Lin's thoughts, as the sky brightened, slowly retreated into his mind. He hadn't slept all night, but he didn't feel tired. The only thing was a faint pain in his brow. He rubbed his brow and looked at DeFu. Seeing the smile on his face, Wang Lin felt a sense of joy. You're amazing. It was you who dreamt of the heavenly court and made the thunder and rain disappear. They are satisfied? DeFu was very excited and even prouder. Time passed quickly, and 5 days later, the imperial examination in the county town was about to begin. After 5 days of anxious waiting, the scholars who had come to the county town walked out from the inns on the 6th morning, under the still sunny sky, heading towards the examination halls scattered around the town. During these 5 days, Wang Lin only left the inn to deliver his route pass and examine the exam hall. He spent the rest of the time reading, making final preparations. He too was nervous. If he succeeded this time, he could continue on his path. But if he failed, everything would have to start from scratch, and he would have to return to his village, waiting for years before attempting the exam again. Wang Lin didn't want to fail. He couldn't bear to see the dim look in his parents' eyes, nor did he want to make them feel the mocking gaze of their relatives, who pretended to offer consolation. During these 5 days, De Fu, who was full of energy, couldn't stay still. While Wang Lin studied, De Fu went out on his own, wandering the county town. Over time, he met some people and learned to be even more stingy. On the 6th day, Wang Lin, after bathing and burning incense, put on a white scholar's robe. He took a deep breath and, with De Fu, who carried a bamboo backpack, left the inn and headed toward the exam hall. The one he was going to was the 3rd examination hall, to the west of the town. The streets along the way were bustling, with many early market stalls. The vendors had already set up, offering food for the scholars heading to the exam. Looking down the street, many scholars were hurrying toward the exam, some with worry, some with nervousness. Even while eating, they would quickly swallow a few bites before rushing off. Wang Lin took a few deep breaths and slowly calmed himself. After eating a couple of steamed buns, he and De Fu arrived at the examination hall. It was crowded with people, but there was no noise. Most were closing their eyes to rest, mentally reviewing what they had studied. 2 officials in embroidered robes stood outside, coldly observing the candidates. Their presence gradually filled the air with a solemn atmosphere. Wang Lin stood quietly, gazing at the sky above the exam hall. His mind gradually settled completely. Behind him, De Fu was looking around in confusion, but as he kept observing, his face grew gloomy. He noticed that most of the study companions of other scholars were quite young. Compared to them, he felt somewhat out of place. Muttering to himself for a while, De Fu then took out a steamed bun and bit into it vigorously. Before long, the time for the exam arrived. The sound of the bell rang from a distance, echoing throughout the entire county, carrying a heavy, solemn tone. As soon as the bell rang, the scholars who had been with their eyes closed opened them one by one. Their expressions became serious, and the tension in the air immediately returned. Enter the examination hall. If you have any cheat sheets, take them out yourself. Do not let them be discovered, or your qualification will be revoked, one of the officials in a golden robe said, his eyelids flicking as he spoke slowly. As the scholars walked into the hall one by one, nearly everyone was searched thoroughly to ensure they had no cheat sheets before being allowed to enter. When it came to Wang Lin, the process was no different. His bamboo bookcase and other belongings were checked, and only then was he allowed to enter. De Fu waved at Wang Lin from outside and shouted loudly. Even though people around him frowned in annoyance, he paid no mind. Wang Lin smiled and waved back at De Fu before turning and walking inside. After finding the seat with his name on it, Wang Lin calmly sat down. Under the watchful eyes of the examination officials, every student began to open the rice paper on their desks and focus their minds. When the examination officials took out the sealed exam paper, there was a soft rustling sound of writing filling the air. Wang Lin quietly ground the ink, staring at the rice paper in front of him. But for a long time, he did not make a move. The exam lasted an entire day, giving ample time for reflection. Gradually, the scholars who, like Wang Lin, had been deep in thought began to write. By the end, Wang Lin was the only one left sitting still pondering. The exam question was a painting, simple in design. There was a mountain with a straight tree on top. The wind seemed to be blowing, causing the tree to sway. Below the mountain, there were a few strokes suggesting a house belonging to a mountain keeper. The meaning of the painting was clear, echoing the phrase, pillar of the state. Almost all the other students could immediately recognize this and wrote their essays around that theme. However, when Wang Lin saw the painting, the voice he had heard 5 days ago began to faintly resurface in his mind. Karma, what is karma? As time passed, noon arrived. Some students had already finished their essays, blowing on the ink to dry it, their faces filled with delight as they shook their heads and silently chanted in their hearts. But Wang Lin remained silently seated, a look of confusion in his eyes, still unable to begin writing. This was unusual, and a few of the examination officials couldn't help but glance at Wang Lin. Gradually, students began to leave the hall, some with pride, others with disappointment. After leaving, they either accompanied their study companions or left alone, walking away in the distance. As the sunset approached, the examination hall grew dim, with less than half an hour left until the end of the exam. Wang Lin was the only one still sitting there. The last student sighed deeply before standing up and casting a final glance at Wang Lin before shaking his head and leaving. If you cannot finish your essay, just leave quickly. Don't waste time, one of the officials said, frowning as he walked up to Wang Lin and tapped the table with his right hand. Wang Lin did not look up. Instead, he closed his eyes, and after a few breaths, he suddenly opened them, his right hand lifting to touch the ink marks on his fingers. After dipping his pen into the ink, his eyes shone brightly as he began to write swiftly on the rice paper. What is karma? If seeking wood for a house, yet this mountain has no wood, I plant a tree alone. At dawn, I take branches. At noon, I take wood. At dusk, I take roots. Wang Lin seemed to forget everything around him, the voice of the past echoing in his mind, the morning's painting vividly resurfacing, and he wrote down his thoughts and confusion. The official standing beside Wang Lin glanced at the paper and froze for a moment. He then looked more closely. Even the other officials in the vicinity were drawn to the sound and came over. After a quick look, some of them sneered and left. Soon after, the rest of them shook their heads and walked away. What is karma? Planting wood is the cause. Taking wood is the effect. Yet when the wood for the house is complete, it too becomes a form of karma. Wang Lin put down his pen, gazing deeply at the paper. The brightness in his eyes faded, replaced by a lingering confusion. With a soft sigh, he cupped his fists at the elderly official standing behind him, packed his bamboo bookcase, and walked out of the examination hall. Once he had left, the elderly official picked up Wang Lin's paper, carefully reread it, and a look of realization seemed to dawn in his eyes. He remembered Wang Lin's name written on the exam paper. To think someone so young would ponder the nature of cause and effect. He may never become a pillar of the imperial court, but he could very well be a great scholar of his era. The examination supervisor fell silent for a long while, then picked up his brush and drew a circle around Wang Lin's name. Wang Lin stepped out of the examination hall and immediately spotted DeFu, who had spent the whole day waiting for him, fast asleep under a tree, snoring away. A smile tugged at Wang Lin's lips as he walked over. He was just about to nudge DeFu awake when, all of a sudden, the sky darkened. A fierce wind howled to life. Accompanied by ghostly wails and a bone-chilling cry, a black gale descended from the heavens, shrouding Wang Lin and DeFu in an instant. It was as if this dark wind had cut them off from the rest of the county town. From within the black wind emerged a middle-aged man clad in black robes. A cold, oppressive aura radiated from his body as he locked eyes with Wang Lin. I won't harm you. Just answer one question. This man was none other than Senior Brother Dun Tian of the Soul Refining Sect. Over the past few days, he had tracked down nearly every imperial examination candidate in the town, each time asking the same question. Upon receiving no satisfactory answer, he would erase their memories of the encounter and move on in search of another. He was searching for the future of the Soul Refining Sect, for a path that would lead them to the heavens. He had performed 9 divinations, and 9 times he had arrived at the same unbelievable conclusion. At first, he dismissed it, but after 9 confirmations, he could no longer deny it. Every result pointed toward the Zhao Kingdom, toward a small county within it, toward a scholar in that very county. So he came, guided by his calculations and weighed down by that absurd yet persistent conviction. He spent several days combing through the town. Yet none of the scholars he questioned gave him the answer he was looking for. After all, they were just ordinary people. How could they possibly answer his question? With his cultivation, he stood among the elites not only of the Zhao Kingdom, but of the entire Vermilion Bird Star. At the infant metamorphosis stage, he was just a step away from grasping supremacy. Rolling up his sleeves, the middle-aged man summoned another gust of black wind. Countless vengeful spirits shrieked and twisted through the air, swirling around Wang Lin and DeFu, warping space itself and blurring the world around them. Still, DeFu snored peacefully beneath the tree, oblivious to the chaos. Wang Lin turned to look at the figure walking toward them through the swirling darkness. He instantly knew the man was an immortal. Yet strangely, he felt no fear. Not even a shred of dread. In fact, something about the man struck him as small, insignificant. Wang Lin couldn't explain why. Maybe it had something to do with the thunderstorm a few nights ago, or the voice that had since echoed within his mind. or the peculiar transformation he'd begun to undergo. It was a transformation of thought, of perception, and indescribable insight. Especially now, after completing the Imperial Examination essay, after writing about the cause and effect between heaven and earth. Gazing calmly at the approaching man, Wang Lin's expression didn't change. He spoke slowly and evenly. "Go ahead." The middle-aged man let out a soft murmur of surprise. He stopped several meters away, scrutinizing Wang Lin. In his eyes, this boy was utterly ordinary, a true mortal, not a cultivator in the slightest. Yet that calm demeanor, that tranquil gaze, it was anything but ordinary. Every other scholar he had encountered had nearly collapsed the moment they saw him. Terror and dread would seize them. He always had to use spells to calm them, just so they could stammer a few words. But Wang Lin was the first to remain completely composed. No, composed didn't do it justice. The man had the eerie sense that Wang Lin didn't even see him as an immortal, didn't see him as someone to fear. He treated him as one might any other person. Someone with his cultivation level would normally inspire trembling reverence, even from mortal emperors. His presence alone emitted an intangible pressure that suppressed everything around him. Even seasoned cultivators would falter under its weight. And yet, here was a mortal boy, unflinching. In his entire life, the middle-aged man had only experienced this twice before. And both times, it had been with great scholars, rare minds of the vermilion bird star whose learning pierced the heavens, whose clarity of thought allowed them to touch the pulse of creation itself. Such scholars could sense the order of heaven and earth. Their knowledge exuded a righteous aura so powerful, even ghosts and spirits dared not approach. Even though a mere chi-refining cultivator could end their lives in an instant. The stronger a cultivator became, the more they could sense that these scholars carried a resonance akin to a cultivator's presence. If such a person were to walk the path of cultivation, they would become one with the Tao. Wang Lin was the third such person he had ever met. After a long silence, the middle-aged man clasped his fists and bowed deeply toward Wang Lin. "I am Nian Tian, sect master of the soul-refining sect." One thought of Nian Tian, and this single word of thought encompasses all things, truly a great name. Wang Lin smiled faintly and cupped his hands in a respectful gesture toward the middle-aged man. In that moment, the aura of a grand scholar in the prime of his years grew even more profound around him. The dark winds and ghostly souls howling around them seemed to avoid him, not daring to approach in the slightest. Even their mournful shrieks gradually faded, dissipating completely. This scene astonished the middle-aged man even further. He took a deep breath, his eyes shining with expectation. He had an inkling that the answer he sought might very well lie within this person. After 9 divinations, his target seemed to point directly here. This person was likely the one he had been searching for. "I wish to ask, does the soul-refining sect have a path to heaven? I hope the scholar can resolve my century-long confusion." Nian Tian spoke sincerely and bowed deeply to Wang Lin once more. The lineage of his sect was of great importance, and asking a mere mortal about it was truly a strange thing to do, even for Nian Tian himself. Yet, after 9 divinations, he couldn't ignore the signs. Fortunately, Wang Lin's extraordinary presence gave him a flicker of hope. He stared at Wang Lin, waiting for a response. Upon hearing the question, Wang Lin froze for a moment, then fell into silence. "I cannot answer that." After a long pause, Wang Lin shook his head. He had no knowledge of the soul-refining sect, and could only vaguely guess that it was likely an immortal sect. The middle-aged man said nothing, and after a while, a bitter expression crossed his face. He sighed and shook his head. Looking up at the sky, he felt that his actions were completely absurd, asking a mortal about a sect's legacy. "I have disturbed you. You are a scholar of this world. I will not erase your memory." "Alas," the middle-aged man said with a wry smile, sweeping his robes, turning, and beginning to walk away, his steps heavy with disappointment and confusion. Wang Lin watched the man's forlorn figure. He could faintly sense that an invisible weight pressed down on the man, making him appear even more desolate under its burden. "Take me to see the soul-refining sect." Wang Lin suddenly spoke, recalling the dreams he had been having for days, and the voice that had echoed in his mind days ago. The middle-aged man paused, his steps faltering. He turned, his gaze landing on Wang Lin. After a long moment, he solemnly nodded and raised his right hand, pointing at Wang Lin. Instantly, dark winds howled from all directions, gathering around Wang Lin's body, lifting him into the air. Together with the elderly man, they vanished without a trace as they walked into the sky. No one in the county town noticed the magical events outside the examination hall. Even the black winds that had appeared earlier were invisible to the common folk. Beneath the large tree near the examination hall, DeFu continued to snore, rolling over before falling back to sleep with a mutter. Far away, in the Vermilion Bird Star, the location of the soul refining sect, Wang Lin's face was pale, but his expression was calm. Black winds surrounded him, steadying him in the sky. Beside him was Nian Tian. This is the gate of the soul refining sect. Nian Tian pointed downward, and as he did, a booming sound echoed. The surrounding black mist that permeated the soul refining sect dispersed, revealing the entire sect to Wang Lin's gaze. Looking down at the soul refining sect, Wang Lin felt an eerie sense of familiarity. It was as if he had seen everything here in his dreams. But when he tried to recall the details, his mind was empty. "I want to take a walk." After a long pause, Wang Lin whispered. "Of course," Nian Tian responded without hesitation, and with a wave of his hand, he shielded Wang Lin from the winds, bringing him to the heart of the soul refining sect. Numerous cultivators were scattered across the peaks, and upon sensing the opening of the mountain gate, they immediately emerged, spotting Wang Lin and Nian Tian. "Greetings, sect leader." The voices echoed as the soul refining sect's disciples looked on with strange expressions. They could tell Wang Lin was a mortal, but they had no idea why their sect leader had brought a mortal here. Wang Lin's eyes revealed confusion as he walked through the sect. Everything around him felt strangely familiar, and even the dangers in some areas seemed to be known to him in advance. The more he walked, the stronger the sensation grew. Under a certain mountain peak, Wang Lin paused. The peak was dotted with numerous cave dwellings, and he could vaguely see them from below. The sense of familiarity was even more pronounced here, as if he had lived here before, or perhaps in some forgotten era. Nian Tian followed silently, watching Wang Lin intently. His eyes gleamed with curiosity as he studied him closely. After a long time, Wang Lin finally arrived at the soul refining sect's main peak. The peak was surrounded by swirling black mist, rising in circles toward the heavens, creating a majestic scene. As the sky darkened, Wang Lin gazed at the peak. Despite the familiar feeling that persisted, it seemed as though something was missing. After a long sigh, he shook his head, about to speak. Suddenly, a thunderous boom erupted from within the main peak. From the swirling mist atop the mountain, a black figure emerged and, with a single step, began walking toward Wang Lin and Nian Tian. "Senior brother, who is this man?" came a voice full of age and depth as the figure drew closer. He was also a middle-aged man, his gaze sweeping briefly across Wang Lin without stopping. "Dun Tian, he is the Confucian scholar I invited," Nian Tian said with a gentle expression in his eyes. "You are at a critical point in merging with the banner spirit. Stay focused, go into seclusion at once." Dun Tian gave a faint smile. To him, Wang Lin was merely a mortal. Though he glanced at him, it left no impression. With a single stride, he turned and vanished between heaven and earth. Yet while Dun Tian dismissed the moment, the instant Wang Lin laid eyes on him, his mind exploded with roaring echoes. Something deep inside stirred, something long forgotten, and his body trembled. Staring at Dun Tian's retreating figure, tears welled up and silently streamed down his cheeks. Just then, a white soaring bird flew above the soul refining sect's gate, crying out sharply as it circled the sky. Soul refining sect. Hundreds of years from now, on the day you die in meditation, someone will arrive here. He will be the path to heaven for your soul refining sect. Wang Lin murmured these words as he gazed at Dun Tian's departing figure, his tears flowing even more freely. Nian Tian's body trembled. He looked at Wang Lin for a long time, then bowed deeply with his fists clasped. He didn't fully believe the words, but they etched themselves into his heart. He never spoke of it to Dun Tian, not once in his life. But centuries later, as death approached and his spirit waned, Those words from the unforgettable Confucian scholar resurfaced in his fading consciousness.